what? It's what's what? Welcome to What's What with Old Man Liver. What's what? I can hear the theme song playing right now, or I'm pretending to at least. I'm here with Mama Tess, and we're talking about doing our little reality podcast that we try to do every week and talk about something we're involved in with one of our businesses and projects and so forth. Today, we're talking about the Pioneer Saloon and the paranormal background of the Pioneer.
Yeah.
Many people know we have a lot of history going back to 1913, but part of that history is haunted history. So wouldn't you agree that most people that have worked here for a period of time believe in ghosts and that it's haunted?
Absolutely. I would say if they don't believe in ghosts or supernatural in that sense, they've at least had an experience that they can't quite explain.
Yes.
I think that's
a good
probably
way to put it.
So like you may not necessarily believe in the fact that they're spirits or something else along those lines, but they've likely had some type of experience that they sit back and go, I really don't know how to explain how or why that happened. And that is one of the things that we try to do whenever we've done paranormal investigations or other things here at the saloon is try to debunk something, right? So if we hear a weird noise or something else that's strange, always trying to figure out, is there a way to recreate it so that, we always want to try to put forward the most accurate and truthful.
Yeah. So we do a lot of paranormal investigations
and
we try to debunk. So we don't, so it's legit things that we capture. But even just when we're not even focusing on stuff, things just happen at this place that you can't, to your point, you can't explain. Because for me, it's even kind of hard to grasp around that a ghost, like someone comes back in a certain form where they're, as an apparition where they're wearing clothes that they wore back then, but they're dead. Like I have trouble getting my brain around that.
Yeah.
But I will say that enough things have happened to me that are unexplainable that I believe something, whether it's a ripple in time or a weird or just an energy or vortex or something's going on here.
Yeah. Well, I have a hard time grasping the idea that energy can just be destroyed because it really can't. Right?
Yeah, it's got to go somewhere.
It's got to go somewhere. So it's something has happened to it or whatever. And I don't have a good explanation. But do you remember? It was actually just a few weeks ago. We were doing one of these sessions, and do you remember? I'm sitting here.
Yes.
And something caught. So right over here, this booth next to me, and I was like, you were both like, what are you doing?
And we were in the middle of
we were literally in the middle
podcast.
of talking, and I stopped, and I'm like staring, and you guys are like, what is going on? And I'm like, something is sitting there or standing there, but there is a shadow, and I could feel something watching me, and that there was something there.
Oh yeah.
And it was in the middle of the day, and we still don't know what or why or who or
and really
how that happened.
The booth behind us is the one where we have the most activity over here in the dining room.
But this one's had some as well.
Yeah, and that booth does too. And then, of course, the women's bathroom has a lot of activity.
Many times I've had stuff happen.
There was one time, remember you were in the bathroom and I was...
And it was late. We
was
were closing.
Waiting for you. Yeah. And I was standing in front of the bathroom the whole time and you walk out and you're like... Who was trying to get in here, rattling the door? I was like,
And the rattling of the door is something that we're all very used to because if you're here during the day and people walk up to the bathroom, there's only one stall in the restroom inside the saloon itself. And so when you go in, you're locking it and no one can get in. And there's no real way to indicate that somebody's, we don't have special stuff that's like, oh, it's occupied on these bathrooms. And so you usually walk up and you jiggle the handle. And so we're all used to that. It happens 50 times a day. But this was late at night, right after we had closed. And it was really just you and I. And I think like
no one else was
maybe
there.
one or two other people were
certainly
here, staff.
Not around the bathroom.
Yeah, certainly
Nobody
not around the bathroom
nearby.
And not an employee. Or because if there would have been, they usually just wait. And so yeah, it was.
Yeah, and she walks out and she's like, "Who kept rattling the door?"
Yeah, because it wasn't just
in?
once.
And I was like, "Nobody. I've been standing here the whole time.
Yeah.
There's no one else in line."
And we even went back and looked at the security cameras, and no one was there.
No, that's funny.
But the whole door, it was like jingling, or they were jiggling the handle like it would be if you were trying to get in a normal course of the day.
That reminds me of the story with the security camera where we didn't see the potential apparition until the next day. So
Mm-hmm.
we had done a paranormal investigation.
Mm-hmm.
The crew had left, and I was the last person here, just cleaning up and closing up. And then I hear this loud bang in the dining room. I'm in the saloon, and it was like somebody loud enough where somebody like humped a table over, and I was like, shit, did the production crew like back their truck into the wall or something like that? What happened in there?
Right.
And I come checking it out, and I don't see anything wrong or going on, and everyone's left and no one's here, and I'm confused, and you can see it on the security.
Oh yeah, you were hunting
footage.
all over the place.
And then as I'm standing there in between the dining room and the saloon, you can see this kind of orb thing, but not even an orb. It like has a tail, and it flies over my head and then goes off in a different direction.
Yep.
And we know what bugs look like. We know what dust looks
Mm-hmm.
like. This isn't either of those. And I posted it on YouTube and just said, hey, we put on slow-mo even.
Yeah,
like
can
if
somebody
somebody
figure
can
this out?
explain this,
Mhm.
and no one
I don't think we ever got
has.
any good answers
No,
on
we
that.
never. Yeah,
Mhm.
never have.
No.
So it's fascinating. And then, some of the paranormal investigations we've done with Austin Alvarez and Brian Hopkins,
Mhm.
have been all kinds of crazy
we-
shits happen.
We did that one, and we had that little cat ball. Is that what that thing's called?
Yeah.
That lights up, right? And we hadn't touched it for a while, and it was sitting like some of our tables have like little grooves where, it could only roll in one or two directions, right or left, not back and forth. And we were closing up for the night. We were done with the investigation. I was going to turn on a light, and I moved a chair, but I didn't hit the table with it. You can clearly see in the footage afterwards that I didn't hit the table. I didn't bump the table. And I didn't even know that it happened until Austin called it out after. And he was like, did you see that? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And we went back and rolled the footage. And sure enough, this ball is going across the table, making weird movements. It falls onto the floor and then rolls away. I don't know.
Yeah, that was hard to explain.
It was very hard to explain.
And same with a different night where they're basically playing a hand of poker with the ghosts.
Oh yeah.
And it came up with all aces or something. And I'm like, just the odds of that happening are tremendous in any scenario, but even in this, especially in the scenario where you're trying to invoke a poker game from 1915, that actually did happen. That involved Joe Armstrong and Paul Kosky. And Paul Kosky ended up dead on our floor in the in the saloon. And that's a real confirmed murder that's happened here on the premises. So a lot of paranormal investigators, including Ghost Adventures, have come and focused on that. But just that they were talking about that poker game, and then they get this hand dealt.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, some crazy ass shit. And then we've had, we've had our general manager, Christy. She's been scratched. That's the only time I know of
or
anyone.
it was an injury type
having
thing.
a physical interaction with one of the ghosts.
I used to have, when I would cook on the grill at night, I'd feel like somebody was standing over my shoulder at the entrance to the pantry door. Because, when that was before we had our kitchen finished and you grilled outside. I'd be standing there and I could have sworn there was someone. And I look back all the time, look over my shoulder. No one was ever there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And remember, we've had bartenders who see shadow figures following people around at karaoke and
one of our bartenders one night, he was here closing up. He was cleaning the taps and looked over and he did see a child run across the bar floor, because he was like, hey, what are you doing here? And then it was gone, and realized that.
And the child thing comes up quite a bit.
It does.
And what's
the story
name?
of Mikey?
Mikey, yeah.
Mikey.
So that's supposedly he might have drowned in one of the
well
wells
here on
that
the
were
property.
Previously out here.
Lots of theories on that one.
Yeah, but
we haven't been able to prove it. Like, that's one of the tough things.
But the kids thing makes sense.
It does.
Because a lot of stuff that happens out here is mischievous. It doesn't feel like dark or evil or intimidating, just mischievous. So it's like you set this, cup down right here and you look away for a second and it's over in another part of the room. That kind of stuff happens all the fucking time.
Yeah. And I had the experience when we very first took over, where in the general store, when we used to have that gas heater that was hanging from the ceiling, and it was early September, so it was still hot outside. So we would have had the swamp coolers going, and someone left the swamp cooler on all night long. So I walked in and I was like, "Ooh, it's cold in here." I said that out loud, but I was the only one in the space. And when I went around to like open the register in the general store, the heater kicks on. And the only way that you could do that, if you remember, was with a wrench. Like you had to have this special wrench that could turn because the knob was missing and all this other stuff. And it was not easy to turn. You had to like work at it. I was like, okay, so that's how we're going to do things. Got it.
Oh yeah. And for me, I think that
was my first experience.
Yeah. I was going to say my first experience was, I think it was after the Matt Rife and Jamie Kennedy and all them left from a Don't Suck taping.
Yep.
And I heard like a noise coming from the bathroom area, and it was like this kind of screech. It was like an animal, kind of like they say Chewbacca in Star Wars is a combination of multiple animals. This thing, I couldn't identify what animal it would have been, but it was loud and weird. And then right after I heard it, I see a flash of someone walking through the dining room. And I'm like, holy shit, I think I just had my first paranormal experience. And this was only a few weeks after we acquired
that was like
the
October or
Saloon.
November or something like
Jesus
that.
Christ.
Yeah.
So it's always when I'm by myself like that.
Yeah, it tends to be like we're usually, and that's a weird thing. Do you remember, it was a couple summers ago, you and I were getting ready to leave to go out of town, and we had stopped by the Saloon and the power went out into the entire town of Goodsprings. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do.
And we were I don't know why the spirit box was out at that moment or during that time period, but it was going crazy. It was saying all kinds of things. And it was the middle of the day. Yeah. And it's one of those things where I think we forget that the energy and the activity takes place all the time. You just have to be paying attention to it. Right.
Dark,
when it's quiet,
it happens all
and there's
the time,
not other things going on. And that particular day, it was quiet because we had no power. And we didn't really have any customers here at the time. So we just kind of were sitting around and listening. And it was very apparent that something was here and it was talking and communicating with us. And it was like noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
No, stuff
so it wasn't like that 1 in the morning kind of thing.
It doesn't discriminate.
No, but time of day is not an issue.
Remember when we used to have the trailer house on the property?
Oh yeah.
And a previous owner had lived there at one time, and then but we've had some of our servers and bartenders that have sworn they've seen the former owner walking around that house.
Sitting at their table.
Yeah, because they lived there for a while, and they would have experiences all the time. We have experiences all the time down the street. Now, in my opinion, that's a little darker energy.
Yeah,
I feel not in the
I know that one makes you feel a little uncomfortable.
It's a little uncomfortable, and unfortunately, it's since burned down.
Yeah,
and I like to think that the ghosts put out the fire; they didn't start it, but it's a whole spontaneous combustion story that is hard to explain.
The house is still there; it's just the inside is gutted,
it's completely
gutted,
destroyed on the inside, fire and water damage. But prior to when we used to stay there more often, and until we get it built, we'd hear things all the time, and it's one of the older structures. Oh yeah, it's older than the Saloon.
It's older than the Saloon. It's one of the only stick buildings in the town. And if you go back and do some digging, not physical, but like research on the property, it was originally just a small mining shack. And there were probably, what was it, like 17 or 18 mining parcels is what makes up the whole piece of the property. And there's still a mine shaft there. But if you look at aerial photos, shockingly, there are them of the town of Goodsprings from back in the day, and some other maps. The mining tracks ran right through our yard and right
through the house, right?
Right next to the house. Next to the mining shaft or mine shaft. But then this is what was really interesting.
What other fucking houses come with a mine shaft?
I know.
Only in Goodsprings.
Only in Goodsprings.
Buy a house like
I don't even know if there's too many other properties in Goodsprings that have mine shafts on them.
Yeah, especially
or if they're not,
it's just like ours is
that
like
aren't
a
filled
hole in the
in.
ground, like a missile silo that goes. It's not like a cave on the side of the.
And we have it closed up, so it's not a danger. Like people can't get into it, kind of thing, because that's, I think, important to understand. But
plus we're growing mushrooms and
of course,
or we should, I know you want to do a wine cellar, but I think mushrooms.
Yeah. Anyway, the inside of the house, what was really interesting, I don't think we ever would have known this had we not had the fire in the house. So when they took down all the interior walls, the original structure that was this like 1 room, maybe 2 room shack was still intact. And that was what was 2 of the bedrooms of the house. And so the exterior, like all they did was just put a wall and drywall over what was the original outside of this tiny shack. So it still had the original like wallpaper from probably, I would say the 20s or 30s would be my guess. The roof on that one section was still corrugated tin, and so were the walls. And it was really interesting because we would never have known that. We didn't remodel the house. It was all done prior to our ownership. But they literally just built on over time.
Yeah, so it was the weirdest. It was almost weirder than like the Winchester house that you go to in California that has a whole history thing. The whole house is weird and uneven floors, and
it's like 3 different elevations and they're just in different
kind
spots.
Of a shit show from that standpoint, but it was kind of, and we also, we've used it for business storage and stuff, and we would have people coming in and out. So we kind of closed off our bedroom from the rest of the house, and we put a special lock on it that, so I can't remember if it was, fingerprint, biometric, whatever, but you couldn't get in the door unless you had our fingerprints or from the inside. So we, even at night, and I've talked about this before, we'd always be up at 3 a.m. And that's a common thing with the haunted shit, like 3:33 or whatever the witching hour and all that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. But in this particular case, we would often hear like people making dinner like in our kitchen or something. And we'd know we're the only other people in the house, but I would still have to get up and check because it was so loud. It was like dishes clanging and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, I know no one's in there, but I have to go see. And sure enough, as soon as I walk in, the noise disappears and I don't see anything out. And that happens so quite often.
What is it about me and having things standing over my shoulder? Because if you remember, that was one of my first experiences at that house too, was I was standing at the kitchen sink and there's a big window over the kitchen sink. So you can see you can see the entrance to the property. So if somebody were walking up to the house, you would see them from this kitchen window. And I'm doing dishes and I felt like, and I literally thought I was going to turn my head and see like one of, a member of our staff or one of our kids, something. And I turned my head and no one was there, but the back door was open.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. And then getting back to the bedroom door that was locked, we'd go to sleep and I'm like, look, I am closing the door. It's completely shut. It isn't ajar. It can't just,
you can't open it from the outside.
And you'd have to turn the handle from the inside and push it open. Sure as shit, we'd wake up in the morning and that door was open like somebody let themselves out from our room that we were fucking sleeping in.
Yeah,
and then you had another experience where you were smelling like,
I woke up to the smell of smoke, cigarette, and not like a fire, but like somebody smoking either a cigar or a pipe or something. But it was that putrid, like cigarette butts left in a beer can smell. And it was just kind of turned my stomach a little bit when I woke up. And I felt like I could feel something standing at the foot of the bed kind of thing, watching us.
Yeah.
And then Kyle had mentioned to us a couple weeks later, had no idea about the story of me waking up over this, but he just says, he goes, hey, are you familiar with have you ever seen the old cowboy that stands outside your bedroom window and smokes? And I was like, okay.
And strangely enough, it wasn't me that he was referring to.
Yeah, it was like, So lots of stuff goes on up there.
Yeah, happens in the whole town of Good Springs.
For sure.
There's, when you've got this much history and no telling how many miners died out here that probably wouldn't have been recorded. And then there's been multiple deaths in the area. And then some articles, when we've researched it, they don't necessarily mention the Pioneer Saloon, but they mention someone getting killed at one of the local pubs. And it was
because how many were there back in the day? Was it 7 or 5? I can't remember.
There were several different, like
there was one that used to be
7
across
bars,
the street.
3 coffee houses, and 3 brothels back in the day. I want to bring the brothels back, man. Now you got to go to Nye County to get that service. But
so we've found is doing research on the town and doing research on, either trying to debunk or to support find evidence that supports some of the stories that we've had here. I've found other articles like, the two Italians that got into an argument and in a fight at one of the saloons in town. They don't specify which one, so I couldn't tell you if it happened here at the Pioneer, but the one guy got stabbed and he died within 12 hours. So some pretty, there was some rough stuff that happened back then.
For sure. And then people bring up the name Ruby a lot. And we've looked, and there have been a few rubies in the
5
town
that I can find on census records.
Yeah, we can't find any evidence that someone was raped or murdered in the women's bathroom that often accompanies that name. Although, as we mentioned, a lot of shit happens in the women's bathroom. In fact, one time these 2 girls went in the bathroom and people, take selfies and all this kind of stuff. And one of our bartenders witnessed them going in, and then they come out and they were freaking out because showing her the picture they took as a third face on there.
Yep.
And, our bartender swears that only 2 people went in.
One of the other reasons why it's, I think, so hard for us to find evidence or news stories or things of that nature is the Good Springs, I think it was called the Good Springs Gazette back in the day.
Yeah.
It only operated for 6 years. So 3 of those years, it was, it might have been 9. Anyway, something along those lines. It wasn't it was a very, very limited time. And the wife, the original editor and publisher of the newspaper, died in 1918, I think during the Spanish flu pandemic. And she took it over and kind of ran with the newspaper afterwards. It's interesting too, just to go back from a history standpoint and read how the paper was different between before and after. But anyway, there wasn't much news reported or recorded in the actual town itself. So a lot of articles that you find about Good Springs came from, shockingly, things like LA or, up in Reno,
even the
or
San Francisco,
even the San Francisco newspapers. So it had to have been a big enough story to reach on one of those levels. So if something minor happened here in the town of Good Springs, or, it probably wasn't recorded. Yeah. Just like it's also hard when we think about the census records. There's quite a lot of them available. And I've looked through every single one of them. I've combed through all the names. I've tried to do research on the families and the people that were here. But doing a census record every 10 years, you could totally have missed documentation of anyone ever residing in the town of Good Springs. And so if there was a woman named Ruby who was a prostitute, who was strangled and murdered, there's a good chance it was never documented, that she wasn't as a resident here, or that the story was never captured by anything or anyone. So especially if it wasn't, I'm sure there was a lot of crime that was never really investigated.
That's for sure. But yeah, because even in the case of the 1915 poker game, the dealer that shot the guy dead actually got off on self-defense. And back then,
twice.
If you just have a better reputation, you can get away with some of this shit. But yeah, fascinating stories, a lot of history here. So if any place is going to be haunted in Southern Nevada, it's going to be the Pioneer Saloon.
For sure.
Out here in the middle of the Mojave Desert. And it's
for sure.
Old from 1913.
Was it? And last year we were actually named one of the top 10
That's
haunted destinations
by USA Today. That was huge.
Yeah.
I think we're 7th, and we were up there with like the Queen Mary and
there was a lot of really prominent, well-known,
famous,
very famous,
Winchester House. That was, I was kind of proud of that. I'm like,
absolutely,
that's some national acclaim there.
Yeah.
And
I think rightfully so. And then we're coming up on
tis the season.
Halloween's coming. Halloween is coming.
We always celebrate our haunted history during the Halloween season. So we've in the past we've done Spirits with Spirits, which are like paranormal investigations that people can sign up for to come in after.
Yeah, come in and enjoy some cocktails and then play around with the spirits for a while.
Yeah, right. And mess with the spirits, because that's always a good idea. Yeah. And we do
share a little with them.
Good Screams. This started for the first time this last year.
And we'll do it again this year.
Of Ghost Adventures and Austin Alvarez, and we're doing it again
October 17th.
Yeah, so it's kind of a celebration, its own celebration of all things paranormal and ghostly and haunted. And then we do an annual Halloween party, and this year it's actually on Halloween. It's Saturday. I think Saturday is
does it fall on Saturday this year?
So
That's great.
So it's kind of cool that it happens to fall on a Saturday, and we
Mm-hmm.
usually have costume contests and
Yeah.
and spooky drink cocktails and
Yeah,
stuff
people-
like that. So we make a whole thing out of it.
And
so
it's not hard to get the bar decorated for it because it kind of just
kinda
already
is naturally decorated. Spider web, you got real spiders.
Right.
Tarantulas do add a lot to the season
they
because
do.
like in the fall, there's tarantula season out here where I don't know, it's a mating thing, I think.
Yeah,
But
mating,
there's,
migration, whatever
at
you want to call
points
it.
You can see like thousands of them coming down the hill where it's like the ground is moving and shit like that. But you'll see tarantulas all over the place. Now
Yeah.
they can't actually break
Bite you.
human
No,
skin,
they can't.
but they're at least this kind
People
out
just
here
think
in the
they're creepy.
Mojave.
Yeah.
But they look scary to a
Yeah.
lot of people, so it freaks people out. And it's like, yeah, so we got real. We
Mm-hmm.
don't need to decorate at the at the saloon. We get the real deal. We got bats, we got spiders, you name it, ghosts. Yeah, just me.
We have the long-eared jackrabbit that actually looks kind of creepy at night
Yes.
if you only catch
Remember
it.
the first time we saw that, we were like, did we just see a fucking
I know. I was like,
alien?
what the hell was that?
I've never seen a rabbit
It
like that with
Almost like walked like a dog.
yeah, and it
was weird.
stood up like
Yeah.
this dog is sitting
And
down
it was
and had a
huge.
long tail
Yep.
like a dog and weird ears.
Very
like,
long ears.
Yeah, the first time we saw that one pop behind a bush and looked
I
at
had
us.
never seen one
And I
that
was
big
like,
or like that before,
Does
so I
Good
didn't know what it
Springs
was.
have its own Sasquatch thing or something?
You never know.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
You never
But
know.
yeah, it's a fascinating place. And like I said, there's an energy here you can't explain. We even have IT people come out and
Yep.
try to set up things and it doesn't.
Yeah, we are in a weird
Yeah, like
Like
stuff doesn't work
electrical
like it normally works. And they're like, I can't explain. I'm like,
vortex
don't
type
worry
weird
about
thing.
it.
I don't know how to describe
Yeah,
it.
you cannot explain
Yeah.
the stuff that goes out here. But I advise people coming around Halloween season and check it out and come during the week when the bartenders and servers have
And we
time
do-
to tell you stories.
Yeah. And like we've said, we do spirits with spirits throughout the year. So there's opportunities. It doesn't just have to happen during Halloween or the October time period, but we do just kind of lean into that. Everybody's already in the mode.
Yeah.
around
if you
that
got a
time of
group,
year,
shoot
so-
us an email. If you
Yeah.
want to, make a thing out of it,
Yeah.
we'll make a special occasion
Yep.
for you. And
We do
we'll
have
make
those
the
available.
arrangements to stay open
Sure do.
or to stay open for you to come check it out after it's closed for business. So lots of cool things that go on out here.
Mm-hmm.
I love Halloween season. The haunted aspect of the saloon is as big as any of our other
Mm-hmm.
lore that we're famous for. So, we advise everyone to come check it out and spook the shit out of yourself. This Old Man Liver and Mama Tess coming to you from What's What.
Woota.
It's What's What.